What's up, everyone? I'm the Nostalgic Book Potato, and today I'm going to be talking about the 25 books I want to read in 2025. This is the first time I've actually ever done a TBR list. I'm pretty much always a mood reader, but a lot of these books have been on my physical TBR for a while, or are books that I really do want to read. So I'm intentionally setting the goal to read these books this year. Do you have any specific reading goals? Let me know in the comments. My 25 books to be read this year fall into 5 different categories: nonfiction, series I need to finish, new releases, books by my favorite authors, and random books I really want to read. These aren't going to be in any ranked order, just by category, and the first category is nonfiction. I don't know if you've ever encountered those 1 hour long Mind Valley YouTube ads, but the guy is always talking about Jose Silva. So I figured I'd finally read The Silva Mind Controlled Method, and maybe I'll become like Helen Haskell. The next book is a book on my Kindle, Think and Grow Rich, the classic by Napoleon Hill. I actually started reading this years ago, and for some reason stopped at like 45%. I don't remember why. I don't know if I just got bored, or I just wasn't in the mood for it. But it's a classic book on manifesting and abundance, and I'm definitely in the mood for that now. The next 2 books were given to me by my parents, and I started these last year, but stopped and figured I should finish them. The first is How to Get What You Want and Want What You Have by John Gray. My mom gave this to me, and as you can see, I'm almost finished. I think I felt like I got a lot of what I needed by this point of the book, so I wasn't eager to finish, but I think it would be good to finish and refresh my memory with what I learned from the book. Next up, I got Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins from my dad. I think I read like 50 pages, and it felt a little long-winded, and it's kind of chunky for a self-help book. So I wasn't super in the mood to finish. But I think there was valuable stuff in here. My dad was really impressed with it, so obviously Tony is such a huge self-development guru, and I'm sure there's good stuff to learn. I don't love his face though. I'm sorry, Tony. The second category is series I need to finish. First and foremost, honestly, is Kingdom of Ash, the last book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I really do love this series, but have been procrastinating on it. I think my main hangup is how long it is. It's almost 1,000 pages long. I started listening to the audiobook a few years ago, and it's more than 24 hours long. Most books I read are like 7 to 12 hours, so at 2x speed, I can usually finish them in a couple days. And that's one of the reasons why I love audiobooks, because I can get through books pretty fast. So I don't think I'm a fan of reading an audiobook over an extended period of time. So I got a physical copy. But not only is it too long, I honestly don't love the main couple. I'm here for all the side couples, and there are a lot of them, which is probably why the book is so freaking long. But I knew it was going to require a commitment to finish the book, and I think I'm ready to make that commitment this year. Next up is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahern. It's the last book in the Serpent and Dove series. I loved Serpent and Dove, and even loved the sequel, which is apparently an unpopular opinion, because I had only seen people hate on the sequel before I read it. But I thought it was great, so I'm excited to finish this series, and I only started this last year, so I haven't been procrastinating on it like I have Kingdom of Ash. But another series that I have been procrastinating on is the Stolen Heir duology. I loved The Cruel Prince. It was one of the books that got me back into reading a few years ago. So I'm forever grateful to Holly Black. I just gorged on so many of her books. They're so great, and I was excited to see this spin-off series. When I read the sample for Stolen Heir, I was intrigued, but not dying to read it, and honestly I felt the same about the sample for The Cruel Prince, so I'll probably end up loving it. It does give me modern fairy tale vibes, which is kind of a related prequel series. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it. The one with Kay, I think, was my favorite, and that's the one that this has similar vibes to. So I'm looking forward to reading the duology. I know that Jude and Carden make a cameo at some point, so can't wait for that. I have these gorgeous special edition black covers, which I think are cooler than the original white covers. And this one, I don't even know this when I bought it, but it's a signed copy. Signed. Probably one of my most prized possessions. Like, if I had kids, this would be in my will. Next, another author I love and just gorge on all of her books is Anna Huang. I really love the If Love duet, If We Ever Meet Again and If the Sun Never Sets, which follows the same couple. The last two books in the series follows two of the main characters' best friends and their love journeys. I wasn't super intrigued by the third book because I wasn't interested in her character in the original duet, and when I read the sample for the fourth book, it was kind of cringy. But I reread the first book and re-fell in love with it, and now I do want to follow these characters, so I'm excited to read If Love Had a Price and If We Were Perfect. Next up is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, which is the sequel to Ninth House. I remember there were so many mixed reviews for Ninth House, and when I read it, I loved it, and I thought all those negative reviews totally missed the point of the story. So I was glad to hear that there's a sequel. Honestly, I kind of held off on this because I didn't love the original cover. I'm totally a cover snob. This one is better, but the mass market paperback has the best looking one. I also have the mass market paperback of Ninth House, so it would have matched, but whatever, this one was on sale. The next book is Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong. This is the sequel to These Violent Delights. I enjoyed the first book. It wasn't exactly what I thought it would be, but it was still a good time. I started listening to the second one, and for some reason just wasn't feeling it. I did enjoy the angst and the secret twist, but I think there were some other books that I was more drawn to at the time, so I let it slip. But I recently got Last Violent Call, which is the novella collection connected to this series. So I figured I should probably finish off the series and read these novellas. The last book in this category is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, the latest book in the Empyrean series, the first book being the infamous Fourth Wing. I liked Fourth Wing more than I thought I would, and I had pretty much only heard bad reviews of Iron Flame, but again, I was pleasantly surprised. If you want to watch me unbox this beautiful bad boy and take a tour of the covers of Fourth Wing I have, I'll put a link below. Now, I could have put this in the next category since it's also a new release, but most of those are going to be series starters or standalones, so it's in this category instead. The third category is new releases. First is Deep End by Ali Hazelwood. It released on February 4th. I was hesitant to put this on my TBR because I love Ali Hazelwood, will definitely read whatever she writes, but was not into the premise of this one, and I do not love the cover. I'm sorry, I love all her other covers, but this just doesn't do anything for me. But I have heard from another booktuber who loved this book and said the couple from The Love Hypothesis makes a cameo, so I'd read the book just to see them again. Next is The Scorpion and the Night Blossom by Amelie Wen Zhao, which releases March 4th. Mostly I want this for the cover, not gonna lie, but it also has demons, deadly trials, and moving through realms. It's billed as perfect for fans of Throne of Glass, but it's only going to be a duology, so I'm sold. I love Throne of Glass, as I've mentioned, but it's such a long-ass series, which is probably another reason why I haven't finished. But a duology? Perfect. Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry releases on April 22nd. It's about two writers competing for the chance to write the life story of some mysterious woman. And books about writers and bookish things are the best. It's also giving me Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo vibes, like Margaret is Evelyn Hugo. I've enjoyed all of Emily Henry's books, but I've heard that this one is supposed to be different, so I'm curious to see how it will go. The last one for this category is releasing on June 3rd. Forgery of Fate by Elizabeth Lim. Again, mostly just want this for the cover, and I love a gilded edge. In this book, the main character can paint the future. There's also gangsters, dragon lords, and a marriage of convenience. Tell me that doesn't sound interesting. The fourth category is books by my favorite authors that I still need to read. First is This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I got this from my best friend for my birthday last year. She knew I read every summer after, and I really liked Meet Me at the Lake. So thank you, bestie. I'm mostly excited for this because it's set in PEI, Prince Edward Island. I've always wanted to go to PEI because of Anne of Green Gables, obviously. I know she also has a new release this year, One Golden Summer. I don't know if I'll get to it. We'll see. I'm not itching for it, but I am intrigued. Maybe if I love This Summer Will Be Different, I'll change my mind. Next is Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto. I really loved Forget Me Not. I thought it was so funny and angsty and spicy. All things I love. I didn't love the main character though, especially in the beginning, but it was really cute. I personally don't want a wedding, but I want all the things that Elliot creates in the book. The last book in this category is The Scarlet Veil by Shelby Mahurin. As I said, I love Serpent and Dove. I loved it so much that I read it again a month later, and still loved it just as much. So I'm excited to finish this series and also read this book, which is set in the same world. I got this gorgeous special edition with sprayed edges. If you want to see me unbox it, I'll leave a link to the video below. Finally, the last category is just random books that I want to read this year. The first book is one that I got for Christmas. Tidebound by Lauren O'Brien. It's a debut fantasy. There's a forced marriage, adventures at sea, and a potential hate-to-love situation. All things I love. Next are books that have been on my TBR for a while. First, 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Ever since this came out, I was interested in reading it. I love the premise. You know I love a bookish book, and this one is about writers who had some whirlwind romance, then separated, and for years have been writing about each other in their books. I love Longtime Yearning, so I'm so excited to finally read this. Likewise, I've been wanting to read Normal People by Sally Rooney for so long. I've watched the miniseries adaptation and loved it. The actors are so good. I've literally watched it 3 times. It's so angsty, visceral, and sexy. Oh my god, so sexy. Better than Corn, if you know what I mean. I know people hate her lack of quotation marks, but honestly, when I read the sample, it didn't bother me. I read Miriam Taves, who also doesn't use quotations, and didn't even notice for a long time. And the final book on my 2025 TBR is 1984 by George Orwell. I've probably had this book since high school, but have never read it. Of course, I know what it's about, and honestly, I think it's probably more relevant than ever to read, because of the current state of the world. I recently watched a documentary on propaganda that mentioned it, and I thought, yeah, it's so relevant right now, scary relevant. Might even be too bleak to read actually, but probably worth it. So those are the 25 books I want to read in 2025. Let me know what you're excited to read this year. Okay, bye!